I'd like to call this meeting to order. Now is the time for the open forum for any concerned citizen to speak to the council on any item that is not on the agenda. Seeing none, let's move to the consent items.
Move to approve.
Second.
Aaron Holtz,
Aye.
Jackson,
Aye.
Sloan,
Aye.
Weetrick,
Aye.
Somali.
Aye.
Under new business, item A is ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Jefferson 2017 by adding new Chapter 31, Animal Appeals Board, and amending Chapters 55 and 56.
Okay, so this would create that Animal Appeals Board. This would be the third reading of that ordinance. There's been no further public input on it.
Move to approve the reading.
Second.
Yeah.
Somali,
Aye.
Weetrick,
Aye.
Sloan,
Aye.
Jackson,
Aye.
Aaron Holtz.
Aye.
Item B is a resolution approving the amendment to the Region 12 Centennial Building Administrative Contract.
This amendment removes the Section 3 notification referencing Part 135. Recently, we have changed it to Part 75 just to keep up with the federal regulations.
Move to approve.
Move to approve it.
I'll second.
Jackson,
Aye.
Somali,
Aye.
Sloan,
Aye.
Weetrick,
Aye.
Aaron Holtz.
Aye.
Item C is a resolution approving the application of Region 12 Housing Trust Fund.
This is actually kind of chat vote, but I'll give a little background first. When the city of Jefferson had their owner-occupied rehabilitation projects, as you know, the finances to the homeowner are contingent upon a 5-year receding forgivable loan. You had several people that either sold their house or moved out of their house during their 5-year term, which results in recapture funds. The city has approximately $30,000 in recapture funds that can be used for LMI projects. This application here would take that pot of recapture funds and it would become an application to the Region 12 Housing Trust Fund. Here's what that does for you. The Housing Trust Fund does owner-occupied rehabilitation, anything that basically is preservation of existing housing stock. In your application, you would offer the $30,000 is match funds, and in return, you would receive $60,000 of Housing Trust Fund monies. And these monies would then be used towards helping narrow the financial gap on the acquisition rehab that was done at 405 South Chestnut. As you know, what it costs to construct a house and rehabilitate it to bring it up to all energy efficient standards is not necessarily what you're going to be able to sell it for. The win for Jefferson is that there was one house on 405 South Chestnut that was completely rehabbed and is now energy efficient and ready for a first-time home buyer. So you have preservation of your existing housing stock. You have an improvement on the neighborhood. Many times these houses are maybe not the best house on the block, so you're affecting the entire neighborhood. And you are addressing your workforce housing issue, which in your rural housing readiness assessments list those as some of the top 3 that the city of Jefferson needs. So the way the application would be broke down is that it would be up to $25,000 for the house on 405 South Chestnut. We would also acquire from the city 105 North Walnut. There would be up to $25,000 available for that house, and the balance would go into owner-occupied rehab. We have just retained a realtor for the 405 South Chestnut house, and I am hoping that we can get by at less than 20 on that house. All proceeds would roll down to the next projects. If enough roll down, a year from now, we would ask if you want to proceed forward with owner-occupied or try to get a third acquisition rehab project. It would be to your choice, but I think the biggest win for the city is you can take $30,000 that you got from previous programs and turn it into $60,000, which can be reinvested into your community. Kind of in a nutshell. Any questions? comments. I know Chad is familiar with this project that we are currently doing. This Chad too. Yeah, and then if you have a couple more.
So I was gonna say everything that Carla just said, but I don't have to. So, but yeah, there's we did a 657A process where we acquired 2 properties. One was 506 North Vine, the other one was 105 North Walnut. 506 North Vine was demolished. 105 North Walnut, I think, is a house that can be rehabbed. So, in my mind, what I hope would happen is this house Carla's working on right now gets sold. Those funds then can be put into this 105 North Walnut property. This property the city owns right now, which we would just donate. We would give it to Region 12 for part of that project. And then we have some additional funds that we could help that would go into that project too. And then hopefully those funds again could, that house sells and we still have more funds to do a potential third project. And Housing Committee did take a look at this and they did recommend approving this application.
Yeah, the North Walnut Street particularly, I mean, yeah, we acquired that, and our expectation was that it was basically, it wasn't a gift to us, but we did acquire it for little or no cost.
Mm-hmm.
But then we would have been faced with demolition on that
Right.
too, and then we've got a vacant lot.
Right.
I think this is a great program. I mean, we've done this before, and it's been successful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm glad to see we're doing it again.
Any questions?
I just have a comment. I have, worked, I've been in many of these rehabs and they make them nice. I mean, it's, new siding, the exterior, and, it's not a empty lot that's worth nothing. And they do Carla does a very good job on everything she does. And, she cares about the program and is an asset, to Region 12 and just does a great job with them.
And they're energy efficient.
I'd move to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sloan,
Aye.
Jackson,
Aye.
Aaronholtz,
Aye.
Samalik,
Aye.
Weider.
Aye.
Item D is resolution approving a memorandum of understanding regarding the Jefferson Municipal Airport Commission fuel project.
So, yep, this fuel project, just a little background on this again. So we had discussed potentially looking at potentially 2 projects there, one to replace avgas, one to then install jet fuel. Okay, the way this financing is going to work out is that we'll be able to utilize 2 years of federal funding, combine these projects so that we're doing just the one project with avgas and jet fuel, and we'll begin that process here in the next couple of months as far as working with engineers and proceeding into bidding here relatively quickly. So before we get into any of that, though, we have had this issue with the memorandum of understanding. Okay, that we had discussed this several months ago about that it takes a local portion to match those federal grants. Okay, and then this memorandum of understanding lays out how that money is reimbursed. Really, 2 big things in this MOU. Okay, the money is reimbursed back to the general fund. Okay, we receive 50% of the profits from avgas and jet fuel sales. Okay, so it's 50% until it's paid back. The other thing that's in this MOU is an important deal about federal law does not allow us to restrict any other fuels from being brought on to the airport grounds. So if somebody conceivably wants to bring in a tanker and still have their own fuel there, it's possible. But within that MOU then, they have agreed that there would either be flowage fees or some additional standards that need to be met, or have individual contracts, have some contracts with the really large suppliers. So the commission has made that commitment then, so we avoid any potential then of losing out on sales by people bringing their own fuels in. So The MOU has been presented to the commission, it's been passed by them and ready for action.
Is there any thought on how long it would take for this to be paid back at that rate?
What I would tell you is our fuel sales right now vary somewhere, and they've been as low as 20,000, high as 40, 50,000, okay? If you're looking at profit on that, it's substantially less than that. But you know, I would anticipate reimbursement. You know, I'd hope that it could be to $10,000, $15,000 a year by the time you figure in some jet fuel sales.
Yeah.
But it's unknown exactly what those
Sure.
sales are going to be. So it's just guessing by golly, you know.
Yeah.
We don't know what the jet fuel sales will be, but we do know that Stotts, with those two big planes they've got, they burn jet fuel in those. So those guys are burning quite a bit of fuel. Even if we don't land very many planes from visitors or people coming through wanting to buy gas here, or fuel.
So this is a different grant than, weren't they the
Yeah,
same one?
I didn't explain that to you, because this ends up being a lot better than what we had talked about when we addressed this a few months ago. We had looked at that as a state grant to supplement a federal grant. What we're going to end up doing is using 2 years of federal funding in order to do this. Now, the really good news on that is that standard cost share on that's 90% federal, 10% local, okay? For whatever reason yet, the cost share is, for the recent past, has been 95.5, and it will continue to be that. So our cost share would be 5% of that then. Much, just all in all, positive and about as good as what you could hope for.
Move to approve.
Second.
Jackson.
Aye.
Weetrick.
Aye.
Sloan.
Aye.
Aaronholtz.
Aye.
Samalik.
Item E is a resolution approving professional services contract with Bolton Mink for the airport fuel improvement project.
Yeah, I guess first of all, as we get into this, Jim had text or emailed me earlier today. He's under the weather and just not able to be here. Excuse me. So the proposed contract, it's an interesting type of arrangement when we're working with a single source contract on this. So it's not like we took proposals from engineers to do the engineering on this federal project. Okay, we were working with Bolton and Mink, and we knew that we would. So the requirement of the FAA, in order to know that the fees are appropriate, is that you need to do an independent fee analysis. And then, so we've done that. What you do is hire another engineering firm to tell you what the fees for a project of this type would be. And then if the fees from Bolton and Mink are in line with what the estimate was, you would know that you're paying basically market. And the FAA would approve that, and you would proceed on, okay? The fees are within the rule of thumb is 10% on that, and the fees that are proposed are within that 10%. Don't anticipate any problem with FAA approval, but we have not yet received the formal FAA approval, okay? I'm going to ask the council to pass this resolution that approves the contract, but it approves it contingent upon FAA approval. Okay, and I'd ask you to do that largely to stay within their timeline, where their timeline has submitting 90% plans by, in this case, February 14th and bidding in March. Whether we're able to maintain quite that timeline or not, but it would be proposed to be pretty aggressive because they would look for construction to occur then into the fall. Okay. The only unique thing about the financing on this, we're utilizing 2 years, so it's current year and subsequent year of federal funds. So we may expend a lot of the money up front, and basically the city's floating that during that year until the next grant comes in. But still, like I say, feeling really good about the financing arrangements, and the independent fee analysis is appropriate and would propose approval.
Move to approve pending FFA approval.
Second.
Weetrick.
Aye.
Sloan.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Aaronholtz.
Aye.
Samalik.
Item F is resolution confirming the employment of Joe Foote as the city golf course clubhouse manager.
So Joe is on board to come back to be clubhouse manager again this year. There is a an employment agreement in your packet with Joe. It's the same employment agreement that we would have had last year with the salary change, and the salary increased 3%. And we started working with Joe on this already for the upcoming year, and looking forward to some good stuff. So again, recommend approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Aaron
Aye.
Jackson,
Aye.
Sloan,
Aye.
Dietrich,
Aye.
Somali.
Aye.
Item G is a resolution confirming the employment of Jacob Kapaska as the city golf course superintendent.
Yep, so Jacob, last year was Jacob's first year here as golf course superintendent, and he does want to continue employment for this upcoming season. I really got fantastic reviews about the condition of the course, and Jacob did a really nice job for us. Again, there's an employment agreement, same employment agreement as last year with an updated wage, which is 3% higher, and it's recommended for approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Somali.
Aye.
Dietrich.
Aye.
Sloan,
Aye.
Jackson,
Aye.
Aaron Holtz.
Aye.
Item H is approval application for Grove Green County grants.
So we do need to have the governing boards approve our applications for Grow Green. There's some other ones that are being done by city entities. Park and Rec has a couple of applications that their board have acted on, and then the library has one that their board's acted on too. We'll discuss two projects tonight. One will be paved golf cart paths at the golf course, and then putting in that additional walking path at the large dog park for the dog park. Any comments on that one there, Chad?
Working on the original dog park project, we had funds to do the sidewalk and the small dog park, and then we had enough funds to do about half of the sidewalk project in the large dog park. And we did apply for Grow Green last year, but they still were paying out their pledge, so we did not get the funding last year. So I'm just going to apply for the grant funds. I think the estimate came in about $40,000 to finish off the second half of the sidewalk project at the large dog park trail.
Then the other project that is proposed is the golf cart path project at the golf course, and this is 768 feet worth of 6-foot wide golf cart paths. The only area out there that has concrete paths is clear on the north side, so this would improve some of those existing rock paths and take care of some low-lying areas and puddles and stuff, and make improvements to that. Cost estimate here is $41,000, and we'd apply for $39,000 of grant funds.
Move to approve.
Second.
Somali.
Aye.
Dietrich.
Aye.
Sloan,
Aye.
Jackson,
Aye.
Aaron Holtz.
Aye.
Item I, fiscal 2025-2026 budget preparations.
I know it's like Christmas morning and it's your favorite meeting of the year. So we're going to work through our fiscal year 25-26 for the year. Just want to give a big shout out to our department heads. They make my job easy when it comes to budgeting. That with the finance committee, they really go through the budget with a fine-tooth comb a few different times. And Scott is a great help with the budget on bouncing ideas and everything. So they really make my job pretty easy. So going forward, we're going to talk about the general fund levy. Remember last year, they put legislation put into House File 718, which talks about ratcheting back your property taxes, essentially. They want us to get down to eventually an 810 levy. So fiscal year 23-24, we started at a levy of $8.37. Last year, we were at a levy of $8.12. This year, proposed levy is going to stay the same at $8.12. The reason why we're staying the same at $8.12 is because of revenue growth, which is kind of described here in this chart. and it's based on how much revenue gross you had. So the previous year, we grew by 14%, which puts us in that tier 4 down here, so we ratcheted back by 3%. This year, we had a revenue growth of 2.61%, so it puts us in that top tier. So we did not have to, our combined general fund levy was not impacted at all. We get to stay at that 812. My prediction for next year is that they're gonna keep on ratcheting back and keeping that tighter and tighter, so we will probably be at an 810 levy, but we'll see what legislation says in next year. So the whole point of House File 718 is just to restrict property taxes. And they are doing a great job at that. So making our job really exciting. So we're going to talk about tax rate. Over here is the last year's tax rate. Your tax rate is made up of a bunch of different levies, but these are the ones we use. Keeping this consolidated general fund levy the same at 812. Liability, property, and self-insurance is going to go down a couple of cents. FICA and IFRS is going to go up because we have employees here and they're longevity employees. We have decreased our other employee benefits down. We are going to be using up some fund balance to try to keep that overall 1488 the same. And then our debt service is going to go up. You did the 2024 bond. There's also a little bit of the 2026 bond coming up there, which increased that by about 40 cents. So along with tax rate comes with valuations. Last year, we were up by that 14%. This year, our growth is only 2.61%, and those will tell you our evaluations. So again, we're going to be keeping the same tax rate from last year. However, our valuations did go up 2.61%.
So when you think about that, and you know that your property tax levy is the same, and your valuations went up 2.6%, total dollars will go up 2.6% then too.
So that brings us to our council priorities. There's about 4 major council priorities that you guys have passed. The CIP plan, which I'm going to say is the best. Someone who comes from budgeting, when council put in that CIP plan into place, it was a lot of work for our department heads, a lot of work for Scott, but it really does lay the foundation and the groundwork for me when I'm doing budget. So CIP plans, we're just going to implement all of those plans, those projects that are inside the CIP, which we'll go again through tonight. Another one is that housing, that they're going to complete the housing readiness assessment and develop a comprehensive plan to address the housing needs in Jefferson. Third priority is citizen engagement. We're going to use different models of technology, whether they were in the past or the present. I'm going to use that. A big one we have implemented is Text My Gov, and we even just used it today. We had a water main break, so we were able to use a mapping tool, map out those houses, send those houses a text saying, hey, there's a water main break. You're going to experience low pressure, and able to tell them that there's a boil advisory in that way. And then we're also looking at updating some of technology here at City Hall for efficiency, and explore different payroll options in that one as well. Any questions on council priorities? Comments, concerns?
Just real quick update, a couple comments on technology, that we've started that process as far as looking at some different options, and looked at options in regards to payroll, specifically about what we could do to increase efficiencies here, or and we've looked at that outsourcing and what the costs were associated with outsourcing. So we'll have a couple of different options there, but then the thing that we're really looking at right now is our existing software, and what we have with our existing software and how we're able to better utilize that software, and are there some smallish additions that you can make to that existing software that will really make for some different efficiencies. And so that's really where we are right now. Understanding that that's a financial contribution then too that would be required for that, but just in the information gathering stage right now.
Beautiful. So we're going to talk about notable changes in revenue. The first one is our interest-bearing accounts. In general fund alone, there was about $136,000 in extra interest that we could earn in the previous year. So we moved those accounts. They were originally in savings accounts. We moved them into CDs and different types of operating accounts with higher interest rates on that one. And it's been a really great change for us. It has helped keep our budget afloat this year, and it's just an applause to the Finance Committee for coming up with it. So you'll see all of these accounts over here. These are all mostly special revenue accounts and enterprise accounts, and the amount you see here over totaling $204,000 are additional interest on top of what we would have earned if we were just to leave them in a savings account. So we're really proud that we're going to earn some extra revenue this year, and we kept all that revenue local in our local banks.
So with that, yeah, everything's local. We took RFP for all of the 3 institutions here in town, and ended up splitting the investment between those banks. But it's just amazing about the difference in the type and the amount of interest that's being that we're able to get now. Before I would tell you we didn't really actively manage the investment of our money, and we have taken those steps, and kudos to Sarah for making this happen, because it's a significant amount of money that's going to help us really through this. So big improvement.
Yeah, the interesting thing about that is there's other organizations in town that have gotten wind of what we've done, and they're doing the same thing within their organizations and getting some of the same mild surprises that we got here.
Absolutely. So more changes in revenue are going to be some membership rates between the rec center and the golf course. The rec center hasn't increased their rates from 2011, so it's about time for some rate increases there. And the golf course is also going to be increasing their membership prices. I think the last time they did it was 2023. Scott, you want to talk about golf course?
Yeah. So we've met with Joe and looking forward to the year, but we really want to do what we can here to try to increase utilization at the golf course, and we're really focusing on that, particularly on membership side of things. Of course, Lakeside Golf Course is closed, so there's an opportunity there for some of those members to get them over here. So we really focus on that, do some recruitment, get those members over here, but just look for, hopefully you'll hear the word about golf course memberships, and we're going to actively market that here this spring. Whether it's, a lot of it will be digital, but expect that we're probably going to do a mass mailer to every home and make sure that everybody's aware of this, and we'll probably have some incentives for new members, and want to really do what we can to get things so that it's the utilization out at the golf course goes up. I think that's one way we can best address any financial problems, is to have it used more.
I will say with the rec center, Nathan gave me a statistic the other day, and since we're all numbers people, or hopefully numbers people, the rec center gets used a lot whether you use it or not. They said within the first 15 days they had 1,000 more check-ins than the previous year. So the rec center is being used by a lot of different people, and Nathan and Henry do a great job at organizing it all over there for their programs.
Was there a noticeable change in that with that 24-hour access thing?
24-hour access, Nathan?
Yes, it's definitely going to be an improvement.
Okay.
Membership, we've had people come in and say they purchased their Sorry. We've had people come in and say they bought their membership just so they can utilize it 24/7.
Great.
So it's been good.
Good.
One other thing in regards to Nathan, and we thank him for this, is that we've talked with him about golf course again. Not something that's not directly related to him, but we're going to work through the community center to be able to offer a payment option for people who buy memberships. Oftentimes it's hard to come up with several $100s at one time for a golf membership, so if we would slot that out into several payments, and the rec center's programs are able to do that, and we'd work with them on that.
Good.
Beautiful. Some other changes in the revenue. Hotel motel. It's hard to predict how many people are going to be using your hotel motels and us getting some profits from that. So it's tracking to be about $10,000 more than last year. And then our road use tax monthly receiver is the Iowa DOT gives us a forecast on that, and I think they were about $6.50 more per capita, which means about $27,000 more annually added to the road use tax budget. So with that comes the CIP plan that you guys implemented in December of 2024. These are projects that are already included in the CIP plan. And then so you'll see what the project is, how much it's going for, and where the funding source is coming for. So the library is going to do an LED lighting upgrade with the children's section for $15,000. They're going to use a Green County Community Foundation grant for that. Also in the CIP plan is the restrooms at Daubendeck to make those more updated. So you'll see those, they're the current restrooms here at Daubendeck Park. If you haven't used them, use them right now. It'll be one of your last opportunities to do that. Overall, that project's going to be about $200,000. $130 of it's going to come from a Grow Green grant. $70,000 of it is going to come from previously collected donations on the previous fiscal years. So it's going to come from general fund.
Just when you think about that project then too, I mean, it's really two large components to that because there's no utilities to the site. So we're running long service lines down there to serve that, the Daubendeck parking lot. For the most part, it basically comes from the wastewater treatment plant down for water and sewer.
Go ahead.
And has Frisbee golf or whatever really increased the use of it? Daubendeck a lot more?
Yes.
Absolutely.
This is actually a picture of the disc golf. I think it was
Oh,
one of
wow.
their tournaments or nightly. If you go down there on normal Thursday night, there's a lot of cars there and a lot of people using the facilities.
So it'd be good to have that for people.
It would, yeah, it's a nice improvement. That is Park and Rec, that's their #1 priority project for the year.
Beautiful. Scott talked a little bit about the jet fuel avgas project. You'll see the numbers there coming from an FAA grant. This is the local match here to do that jet fuel and avgas for the airport. And we are going to be buying a new fire truck. This is one of what it'll be similarly look like. It is going to come partially from funds that we save aside every year with that internal sinking fund. That first portion is going to be payment for the chassis. The second portion is going to be a payment that is probably going to be coming from a bond.
And with that, just on the fire truck too, a couple things. First of all, the purchase agreement will be coming to the council at the next council meeting. Okay, so those numbers there, basically it's we figured 400 and 465 was the total number that had been used. Okay, the number right now on the purchase agreement is right at 420. A little bit more, but we would need to execute that before the end of, before the 1st of March, I think. But yeah, plan that the purchase agreement would come to the city council at the next meeting. Okay, our obligation for short-term funds is to pay for the chassis when it arrives, and we have those fund on hand. Okay, and then it's 18 months for lead time then to have the fire truck constructed. So that's why you see that payment for this for the truck itself is not even included in this budget. It'd be in the subsequent budget. And then we'd met with townships about this and how they would participate in the purchase of the truck. So the townships are responsible this year for right at 30%, 38% of the operating cost of the fire department. So the rationale then is the townships are going to be responsible for 38% of the cost of the truck. So we met with township trustees and expressed that to them, and it can happen. It may happen over 2 or 3 years because some of their contributions would be more significant than what they could tax for this year. But that'll be then the guiding principle is that the amount of investment in trucks from the townships equals their percentage of operations also.
Right now, about what percentage are we collecting from the townships? What numbers I heard, it's a dramatic increase that could come in from the township.
It is. So again, we're just collecting for operations right now. So
right.
we're collecting that 38% of operations.
Yeah.
So
And that's
yeah,
what, about 40,000?
Yeah.
You'd have to look in your
Yeah.
budget on page 4 under fire department, under that township fire tax.
Yeah.
What was budgeted, I think it was 46,000.
46, yeah. And you're saying now that we're on track to be at
38%.
collect from the townships.
Yeah, and it would be, I have the numbers, Harry, and boy, I'd hate to tell
But
you.
it's
'cause I don't know
it's
right
significantly
away.
more than $46,000.
Yep.
There's multiples of that, yeah.
Yeah, so for budgetary purposes, we'll get the $46,000 for operations to
Gotcha.
go towards operations.
Right.
We'll get the plus amount of money that goes into the savings account to purchase the truck.
Buy a new truck,
Yep.
And the reaction from the trustees was they could hack that, or?
They can. Several of the trustees have some amounts of funds saved up already, and then they would just understand they do need to increase their levy a little bit. And all of the townships have the capacity, have room within their maximum levy yet
Okay.
that they can increase it.
It sounded like the meetings actually went pretty well.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. They were very receptive.
Okay, so more water projects in the CIP plan. For water operational, we're gonna do our normal hydrant replacement, valve replacement. There's also some minor water plant repairs that we're going to be doing. Take note of the water capital on the first and third line. They're gonna be doing a water main replacement on South Wilson Street, and then they're going to do some backup power to well number 9 and 10 right there. That is a large cost, about the $200,000 and $75,000. We're going to be taking down the water capital fund and making a deficit there. We've put away money for years on end sort of thing, so we do have the fund balance to pay for that. And then CIP plans for the wastewater. We are going to be doing, a lot of these things are normal things that we do every single year, so flushing and cleaning, the pipe cleaning, root cutting, some lift station repairs, and lining of Clark Street from Elm to Wilson. For streets, we're going to be doing our normal crack sealing, chip sealing, 8A replacement pad program. We're also going to be replacing the cold storage roof at the fairgrounds that keeps all of our cold storage. And that brings us to debt issuance, and I'm going to give Scott the floor on this one.
Yeah, so again, related to that capital improvements plan, that we had laid out certain projects and then equipment that through our lost fund, through our sales tax fund, and then through supplementing with some debt, that we had laid that out over the course of time, that we're able to do all of these projects, and we're able to keep the tax rate then consistent at what it is, okay? So when Sarah showed the tax rates initially this year, and it showed debt service rate going up some cents, and it does, it goes up that 40 cents. That's why the other employee benefit levy went down those 40 cents. You know, so we approached property taxes this year with the notion that we want to keep the levy the same. So there'd be no increase in property tax levy, okay? But if we follow through with this debt issuance, the debt service portion of that property tax goes up, that 40 cents, okay? So what we'd do is look at this debt issuance. In total, it's about $1.6 million worth of debt issuance, and those are the things that it's for. $900,000 for that Westwood loop of sidewalk. $250 is an asphalt overlay on McKinley. $183 pays for the remainder of that fire truck, and then $70,000 is a rough mower out there at the golf course. Okay? We had ran this through Finance Committee and had the discussion about when we would issue this debt. And we would not issue debt until it's needed for projects. And those projects certainly won't come up until summer of 26. So we would not actually issue debt until then. This would propose that we would actually issue the debt and get the money saved. It would be May or June of 26. Okay, but this does propose that we would start collecting the debt service levy through property taxes during this current year. In order to do that, we need to take some action soon, and this will occur at the upcoming meetings, to take some action, say we're potentially going to issue debt, hold a public hearing, take some additional action, and that lays the groundwork then for us to be able to levy that property tax levy, and then also to be able to issue the debt then in June when we would be ready to actually receive the money. Okay, I know that the question had come up about particularly that Westwood sidewalk project, and about whether we intend to do that and what the timing on that might be. So as you think about that and you think about the issuance of the debt, we certainly want to know that we're going to proceed with the project and actually know what the costs are. So that's why we wouldn't actually issue the debt until June. When we follow through with these, when we take action on the issuance of the debt here in the upcoming meetings, it will say that there would be a maximum amount of debt that you can issue. Okay? If it gets down to the point where we say yes or no, we're going to do some or all of those projects, you can only issue ever up to the maximum, but you could issue lower than that if you would choose to. Okay?
How far out does this sidewalk go?
So we're on Westwood to Lincoln Way, over to Lincoln Way, and then down Grimmel. It would just, that is around that large section out there.
Right, I think lots of people do walk that. And, when you're driving, sometimes the sun can be right there while people are walking. But this doesn't have anything to do with streets, huh? Because Westwood Street, I've gotten emails about that.
About the condition of the pavement?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, this does not propose
Okay.
anything for that. The street project here is that McKinley overlay.
I've gotten emails about that too, so.
Okay. We talked with staff, and then we talked with the streets committee then about the timing of that McKinley Street, because I know ideally they would like to take care of that here pretty soon, ideally this year, which if we follow this plan, that doesn't happen until 26, but everybody was content with that and didn't see any problems waiting until 26. Interested in your thoughts on that, and this whole concept of issuing debt. Again, this part of the debt issuance is for equipment, so we need to be on board with that idea, and then the timing about this and whether we're ready to levy a property tax for it now.
Yeah, so time-wise, the actual debt would not get issued until basically right before our 26, 27. So
True.
we would be at this point in time, not a year and a half, but a year and a few months away from even issuing debt, which does give the time then to come to grips with these, particularly the Westwood Loop, what that actually looks like and what the total dollars come out from an engineering estimate standpoint.
Yeah. You have this small packet at your seat today, and you flip to see what would be the second from the back page, and it has my handwriting on it about proposed debt schedule from CIP. This kind of is that governing document about we can do all the projects identified in the CIP if we do this debt plan. So that would, just looking at the columns, you have the existing bonds. Those are ones that we're already paying off. And where it says lost equipment, 6/1 of 25, that would be this proposed debt issuance that we're talking about right now. But then you follow that over to the right, and this is what we ultimately want to do, is get that tax rate to stay very similar, right? And you'll see that it's at 266, 265. It would remain constant then for the upcoming years. And from a stability in property tax scenario, that's really good, and it allows the taxpayer to at least know that tax rates are going to remain consistent.
And again, all of this is a result of what Sarah mentioned earlier, that capital expenditure improvement plan that the department heads and Scott and Sarah and the whole group worked on very diligently.
All right. Rick had it.
Yeah, go ahead, Ray.
If the grants, the local grants from the Community Foundation and Grow Green, if any of them is not approved, are those projects put on hold then?
The easy answer is that yes, they'd just be put on hold. There's no other backup funding for them.
Are there any legislative changes that you know of that are being discussed in this session in Des Moines that might make a difference on the budget here for this coming year?
Of course, the legislature is discussing property taxes, and without a doubt, the legislature is going to do something with property taxes. Okay? This budget for 25-26 is prepared under the current scenario that we have right now. Because it is very likely that if they do something property tax-wise, it doesn't affect this upcoming budget, it may affect future budgets. Okay, so that is the philosophy we went into on this, is that we would compute property taxes based upon what we know right now. Could something change for next year? Certainly, but we planned on the status quo about what we have.
One more. President Trump froze grant money. The judge has put it on hold, put the freeze on hold till Monday. But are any of the grants that you're receiving or expect to receive, would those be in jeopardy under the president's freeze?
The federal grant that we would be receiving are these FAA dollars for the airport.
Yeah.
So that it's conceivably something that that could be. And I'm unsure if the freeze freezes all of the issuance of the grants or freezes any increase on them, because these are all budgeted expenses that would have been normal allocations to all of the airports.
The last I saw, I think the administration is starting to backtrack on that note that they sent to the OMB. So I don't know.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if you're going to be doing, raising your debt service levy for this next fiscal year, knowing that you're going to issue the debt towards the end of the next fiscal year, does that start kind of a process where you're like a year ahead for debt issuance service levy? Because I could see the public being a little confused as far as, well, you're raising my debt service, but you're not actually issuing it until the end of the next fiscal year, and then do you forecast having to make changes then, or
So
how would that work?
Yeah, just the concept would be we would receive property tax dollars to pay the debt in 25-26. Okay, we're issuing that debt during 25-26 also,
Right.
just at the very end of the year.
And so then with the idea, when you're preparing for the 26-27 fiscal year, would you come back with the same kind of scenario? Here's a bunch of projects we want to do for debt issuance, and here's the proposed debt service levy for the 26-27 fiscal year? That's what I'm asking, is
Yeah.
are you starting a process like that where you're planning ahead, knowing that you're not going to issue debt until the end of that current fiscal year?
It's correct, other than it is not proposed to happen every year for debt issuance. The next debt issuance, if we do everything that is laid out in the capital improvements plan, the next debt issuance would come in 30.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to let the public think that, okay, well, is this going to happen every year? So yeah, I just want to clear that up. Thank you.
And again, that's different than where we've been in the past. We've not had these capital expenditure plans in place, and now they're out there. And what that allows you to do is to start projecting ahead, and how do we keep it within our confines of what we're confident we can do and what we can finance and the whole thing. So I feel like we're probably in a better place than we've ever been as far as having an idea of what those total dollars are, what those tax levies need to be within a reasonable range to get us to where we expect we're going to be and what the public is wanting, like the Westwood loops and those sorts of things. So I can tell you I'm more confident with where we are right now and what we're looking at out in the future than any time since I've been on the council, and I'm getting towards the end of my third term, so it's been a while. Yeah, I think we've got a comprehensive plan in place, realizing even though it's comprehensive, things can change along the way. But I think the fact that we know this even gives us more flexibility to make those changes as they come down the pike at us, and that we don't get backed in a corner.
Yeah, I think there always could be unexpected things, and things can change, but gosh, it's good to kind of not just be stumbling in the dark, maybe. So, I mean, everyone that's been a part of that, I think, is really helped this out.
Yeah, and that's not to say that, I mean, there has been a lot of hard work done on this over the years, but when we got it dialed down to this capital expenditure plan, this is more in depth than we've ever dug into that thing, and looking out into the future further than we ever have since I've been on this council.
Right, I mean.
And I hope this goes on long after I'm gone.
Beautiful. We're going to talk about transfers next. So this is going to be why we're transferring the amount and some abbreviations from where the funds are coming from into what account. So the first is that tree removal fund. You guys approved the tree assistance removal fund. So it's going to be $50,000 from the emergency fund, which is special revenues, into general fund. Talking about airport to general fund, we're going to be transferring in about $30,000 for admin expenses and hangar reimbursement. Again, putting away money for a new fire truck. Because even though we're buying a new fire truck, we have to still save money for the one coming up again. The library does a great job every year transferring $2,000 from general fund into their library agency for technology automation and to upgrade their things eventually. The police, were doing a part of the LAC share from the lost fund to the general fund. Street lighting expense gets split between about $90,000 comes out of the road use tax fund, and then we transfer $99,000 from road use or from loss to the road use tax fund. The police put away every year for a duty vehicle, an admin vehicle, and body armor from general fund into that savings account, the internal sinking fund. Transferring some money from the recycling fund to general fund for admin expense. They also put money away for a new truck every single year. Doing the same with sanitation for the admin expense and a new sanitation truck into a savings account. We're transferring from wastewater to a wastewater SRF account. That's going to be your principal and interest payment that we're going to pay from user-generated fees. Then we also have an admin expense from wastewater to general fund.
Just looking at that SRF payment again, so we're at $996,000, we're just right at $1 million. And it will bump up just a little bit and get over $1 million next year after we've drawn down all of the money, and it will consistently be $1 million for the next 18 years after that. So, a lot to be paid.
Transfers continued. So we're doing some well replacement from water to water capital improvement. Remember we talked about earlier about how we're spending down that water capital improvement fund with 2 or bigger projects there. We also transfer for water plant replacement, water tower repair, and water capital improvement. It's also an administrative expense from water to general fund. Next is some equipment, some of which is in the CIP plan, some is not. City Hall needs a new server and a couple of different computers that need updated for $57,000. We're also looking at new codification. This is actually a really cool online resource for our citizens so that all the code will be online. It's a searchable PDF that they can find the code, the updated code, and not have to scroll through it. So we're excited about that. Parks and Cemetery is splitting the cost of a John Deere tractor. Both will pay that $12,500. Road use tax is going to be purchasing a new drivable lift. And then the water department is going to be getting a new pickup truck for equipment. There's also some grant projects that are not included in the CIP plan, but are included in this year's budget. Most of these are funded by Grow Green or the Greene County Community Foundation. The first one is what you heard Chad talk about earlier. Is the dog walking paths at the animal shelter for $40,000. The golf cart paths at the golf cart for $45,000. And then the last is Washington Park is going to get a major upgrade. Nathan put that grant together, so they're going to be doing $35,000 in a grant and $12,000 of previously collected hotel motel funds. Nathan has the concept for Washington Park. Looks awesome. My kids are going to love it, so we're excited about that as well.
Maybe a couple things before you get into these last couple pages. And what I would call the council's attention to the packet that was on at your seat today, and just looking at this cover page especially. That shows things by fund and whether we were long and short on each fund. Just a couple things there. The biggest one is the general fund. This does have a shortfall in the general fund. Okay, so it says $221,000. So basically, we're using $221,000 worth of reserves in the general fund. Okay, now having said that, a lot of it is accounted for by funds that we have on hand for the Dob and Deck restrooms and for the airport. You know, those type of things that are being reimbursed. A lot of those shortcomings can be accounted for. The other thing that I really wanted to point out to you is about 6 lines down where it says health insurance sinking fund. We would have a deficit out of that fund so that, again, we can reduce the amount of employee benefits levy and keep the tax levy the same. So that shows you by fund whether we're long and short, and generally, of course, we do cover revenues and expenses, and it's looking pretty good.
Beautiful. A couple of different new things or talking points throughout the budget. On page 9 of your actual budget, you're going to see this TNR, this trap, neuter, release line inside the animal control budget. That's a new line this year, putting $5,000 for it. And I guess it's a new line, so we wanted to make sure council is aware of it and if there's any discussion about the trap, neuter, release program. This idea came out of the animal shelter board and committee for that.
I have a question.
Yes.
I don't know if you can answer it. The figures we saw in 2023 were 42 cats were taken care of, and then in 24, 32 cats were taken care of. So, you know, to me, that's a 25% drop. Was it lack of funds? Was it lack of participation?
Some of it was lack of participation. We had a meeting with Lynn Price to talk about, you know, she has had health issues, and just, I think maybe that fell off a little bit. And there were definitely some lack of funds too, but in those conversations and with people that are maybe having more cat difficulties, you know, that from neighbors and stuff like that, we wanted to get this started to get going again.
Okay.
I mean, it's hard to say, because if you own something and you have, you know, 1 cat on it, you're going to be upset. And so, you know, it's always, how do you say if it's a success or not?
Well,
because there's going to be strays out there, so.
I just wondered, do you guys keep a record of who brings it in and where they live?
So usually, I think what's going on is they go and they try and talk to people that are feeding these cats and whatever, and try and go that way, and try and put the cages on that property.
Okay.
And then discuss with them about maybe.
So there is a list someplace.
Right.
Of who's been cut and who hasn't been cut.
What do you mean by that?
I mean,
for cats?
Yeah.
Yes, definitely, that they know who, because I think it you know, we're using Dr.
Amy.
Yeah.
Right.
Out at the vet clinic.
Maybe they give air notch or something?
Oh, yeah, that for sure. So you can know just by looking at a cat, because they notch their ear after they've done all this stuff.
Yeah, well, we had a PD meeting this morning and discussed it a little bit, and I would think that the police officers would like to see to see if these colonies have moved, are they in the same spot?
Yeah.
You know, just more data, more info to the council and the police department, if
Sure.
that's possible.
Yeah, and we can do that. I got some information, but maybe I don't want to say all of this in, in a public meeting about someone, but yeah, I can discuss it with.
Sure, okay.
Do they track numbers, how many total cats we've got in
Yes,
those
I don't
colonies?
have those,
Okay.
I don't have those numbers right
Good.
here, but yeah, they
Good.
know how many that
But you're
that they
tracking
do,
that, yeah.
right? Especially since, they're using mostly the same vet here.
Yeah,
They had taken them, or they had other people come in, but now I think that they have this arranged with Dr. Amy. And admittedly, I think it fell off what was going
When
on.
we
yeah,
change our,
well, maybe I misstated the question or you misunderstood it. The total cat numbers in those colonies, is that changing?
Just anecdotally,
Yeah,
like I said.
that's about the best you're gonna get.
Right, yes. Right.
They're staying about the same, or they've
No,
gone down?
the belief is that it's going down, but there are still 2 major cat colonies out
Okay.
there for sure that are a problem.
You're already aware of, so, yeah, great.
Okay, well, I'd like to see.
Can we get a
more data.
list too, where the funding has been coming from to cover this previous years? Is it private
Sure.
donations, is it grants, is it?
Yeah, I
where's the
think
money
they did
coming
have
from?
some grants before. We can look into that too.
The city has not had any funds into the TNR before.
Yeah.
So it's all been from other donations. I tell you that they talked about the 32 cats that were done last year, and they did give costs associated with that. It was a little bit over $5,042, something like that. So just in rough terms, that's about what $5,000 would do.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was maybe just called animal control, and it was maybe $1,000 before. So I know that they have, with different things in their funds have done that, but they've kind of run their course.
Okay, thank you, if you can get that stuff to us. Go ahead.
Beautiful. The next part is hotel motel funds and how they are allocated. Right now, this gives you the allocation for how we're allocating hotel motel funds. We have about $140,000 to allocate. So Main Street's going to be getting 50. Thomas Jefferson Gardens is going to be getting 20. Bell Tower Foundation, $7,500. Bell Tower Festival, $15,000. The Multicultural Resource Center, $5,000. The Children's Center, $5,000. And then this line says discretionary grants. Things pop up from every year where we need to use tourism dollars, and we take it out of the remainder of that $37,500. The ones we are kind of locked into by contract would be Thomas Jefferson Gardens, the Multifamily Resource Center, and I think that is about it that we're completely locked into via contract. So just any discussion on if you want to allocate these funds differently, if you have any more questions or concerns about that. No questions?
Thomas Jefferson's for how much longer?
I believe this is the last year of that. I should have looked before I came, but I'm almost positive this is the last year for that.
And multicultural is 2 years yet?
3 years. So this is
3 years,
this would
yeah.
be our second year, and then we have one more year after
Okay.
this. Beautiful. Okay, so the next time you'll see me is for budget-related items. Will be February 11th for your next meeting. We'll go through the property tax hearing set for April 1st. April 1st is a special meeting. It is one of those 2 agendas, 1 meeting night. We'll set the property tax hearing, and by that point, you should previously get a mailing before April 1st from the auditor's office with everybody's property tax on there. Any questions, comments, concerns?
Rick?
Yeah, one more. Sarah, you probably covered this. I missed it. On the 4 items for new debt service, the McKinley overlay, the sidewalk, you had a figure of 1.6 million. But those 4 add up to about 1.4 million.
Yep, and I believe that came from Tim, our financial advisor. There's some admin fees, correct, Scott, associated with doing that they put in that for that?
I don't know that to be, when I added up, it was 1.58, it was what was the number that I used, and Tim said it was 1.6. So that, when we talk about that maximum number, that 1.6 would likely be what that maximum number would be.
Yeah, those four, the numbers.
Yeah, they don't add up, yep,
They add up
okay.
to 1.403.
Sure. Just, last comment here then is we will reconsider this topic again at the next council meeting, February 11th. Okay? At that the action to come out of that meeting is to set the public hearing date regarding that property tax hearing. Okay? But in order for us to be able to set that public hearing date, we pretty well got to be on board with what's happening in general with the budget. So, although we won't ask you to, give your stamp of approval to everything so far, what we would say is that we'd be on board with a lot of these concepts, and we'd be proceeding through with them that way. Okay? So, and just the understanding again that whenever you get to a public hearing, whether it's property taxes or whether it's a budget thing in general, what you're doing is approving those maximum amounts. You can always go down, but you can never go back up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On to reports. Item A, there we have no engineer. Roxanne.
No report.
David.
No report.
Scott.
Yeah, I do have a couple things. The library's readiness study is complete, and they've started then the rollout of information on it. There's a public meeting next week, Wednesday night, where the consultant will present that information to the library board, the Friends of the Library, the Readiness Committee. These folks will present it all to them. Again, it's a public meeting. The next council meeting on February 11th, the consultant will be here to present that information to the city council. Okay? Couple things. The police committee met this morning and reviewed a proposed ordinance in regards to fireworks. So what our current ordinance on fireworks is that folks are not allowed to set off fireworks. Okay, this would propose a change to where folks would be able to set off fireworks on July 3rd, July 4th, and December 31st into the new year. But it would just stipulate to be those 3 days. Okay? And I know Chad had brought this up as a priority. So it'll be coming to the city council. Chad's not going to be at the next meeting, so I think we will not bring it to the next one, but expect on the 25th of February we will have the first consideration of this ordinance in regards to fireworks. Okay? So really want the public to know about this. I trust there should be some interest in the public about yay or nay whether they like the idea of setting off fireworks. So anyway, expect that's coming up in February. In April then, first week of April, a good crew of folks from Jefferson are going to the National Main Street Awards. So the Jefferson, of course, is a semifinalist for the Great American Main Street Awards. So I do intend to go to those Main Street Awards, and again, this is in Philadelphia. So my wife would come along with me. Just know that none of the city dollars can be spent on my wife. That's all taken care of by myself. Okay. My last thing, I think, is that I'm going to take off tomorrow. I'll be gone for about a week on vacation, but I will be out of the country and not available.
With the fireworks, is it allowed now that you can ask or try and get permission on one of the days besides those? Or I know that had been brought up before too, or is that just maybe a next step or something, or no step? Or
Current code would allow folks to seek a permit conceivably on any day.
Okay.
Okay, this new code does not propose that. It would allow fireworks on these 3 days. and that would be
Without
it.
having to ask.
Right, yep,
Yeah.
no permit.
Under certain conditions, there's conditions that they might not be able to do it anyway, but
Like burn
burn
ban
ban.
Right.
needs to be on your own property, or you got to have permission from where you're setting this off. So in essence, that also means that it would never be set off on, private fireworks would never be set off on public property.
And then it also puts some ability for the police to be able to do some things to people who don't follow the rules, which we don't have today.
Yep.
I see.
It does schedule a fine.
Okay.
Rural housing readiness assessment, but I think we'll have Chad talk about that one.
Okay.
So, last Wednesday, committee, Rural House Readiness Committee met and discussed our action plan. So we had the survey results brought in, we submitted a workbook, and Iowa State reviewed those, brought them to us, and shared the results with us. And then it was kind of like a strategic planning session, where we defined some goals that we wanted to work on and created some committees that would work on those specific goals. And the next steps will be just to, we have some information that we need to submit to our specialists, and then to just to get the committees back together again and break off into our subcommittees and get to work. So we'll bring some more information about that to the council as it's available, like when our next meeting is and what some of those specific goals might be. So.
Yeah, Chad, you might, that committee is made up of really a pretty broad section of our community here. It's not from any one area. You might, there's what, about 12 or 14 of us
12,
totally
13,
on
14,
there.
and so when we first started this process, we had a meeting with the extension specialists, and they kind of laid out who they wanted to be on your committee.
Yeah.
So we do have people from industry, hospital, Darren's council and school, Harry, realtors,
Banks.
yeah. So yeah, we assembled our committee, kind of according to the recommendations of extension. But yeah, we have a really good group. Harry, you were there anymore? You want to just
No.
say about that? Or?
Yeah, no, I think there was good input at that last meeting.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think we really did kind of zero in a lot of the things maybe we thought we already knew, but there's some things within that appear there could be some new opportunities that maybe we've talked about them, but they've been at a much higher level than what we're probably going to be talking about them now. Like the potential of forming a nonprofit that focuses on overall housing funding support. So, I mean, we've talked a little about that, but now I think we can get down in the weeds and.
Yeah, it was a good process. It was a long meeting last Wednesday.
Yeah.
But like I say, it really narrowed in on kind of some specific goals.
Yeah.
And some actionable things that we can work on, which was the reason for the whole process, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just kind of sitting around talking about, hey, we should do this, we should do that. We kind of put it together and have a committee with some subcommittees, develop some accountability so we actually can move forward with some of these goals.
Yeah.
Like, there was putting together kind of a rental database was one of them. Identifying some of the vacant lots that we have, or working with some future spots for development. What incentives might we be able to put together, things like that.
And a lot of that came back from the nearly 400 surveys that came back. That was about double, I think, what was expected when they were originally sent out. So.
One of the things that surveys kind of results kind of led us to was maybe the need for some more condos in town.
I think one thing too that is great about this is they describe Jefferson as already an A+ community, and In their presentation that they show to all communities, they use Jefferson as an example for, as one of their slides to talk about great things going on in different communities.
Any more questions?
Nope, that's good.
All right.
Thank you. Mark? Okay. Harry?
No report.
Matt?
Nathan, anything from Park and Rec you want to highlight since you're here? Put you on the spot? Okay. Yeah, I think we covered some of the things I might have mentioned anyway, so no other report.
Chad?
No report.
Pat?
No report.
No report.
I do have one. Yesterday morning, met with the LEC Entity Board. Mark and I did. The Entity Board we usually pay for half of what their budget is, or approximately. They did have a increase in their office supplies and paper projections, which we would have to pay half, which is $1,500, so we'd have to increase our giving by $750. Yay. Okay, we're done.